Yeah. All right.
Welcome to You're On in 5, The Art of Understudying.
The only podcast to celebrate the work of actors in understudy roles.
Understudying demands tons of preparation with minimal rehearsal.
Or sometimes none at all.
But it can end in triumphant glory.
In these conversations, we'll amplify the diverse voices of actors who have understudied. We want to hear about the artist's technique, experience, and journey.
As well as whatever's on our mind that day.
I'm your host, Elana and Scott. I'm an actor and a true crime addict. You might know me from this one time I did stage directions during a reading of a play at the Goodman. I hear it went really, really well.
And I'm Scott Sava. I'm an actor, teacher, coach, and all the creative stuff. You might know me from my performance as Drugger in the 2010 production of Nothing Special's The Alchemist by Ben Jonson, which our guest today was also in. And that wonderful guest is Patrick Byrnes.
Hello.
Hello. You might know him from the role of Mr. Pinkerton in Pinkalicious, presented by Emerald City Theater and Broadway in Chicago. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Welcome,
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. Yay, we did it.
Cool. So, Patrick, we start every episode, as you damn well know, with the question, what was your first understudy gig?
Yes, my first understudy gig was pretty straight out of college, probably within a year out of college, at Northlight Theater doing a Civil War Christmas.
And you played?
I understudied two actors playing many roles. It was kind of like a campfire Christmas story about what the Civil War was like during Christmas. I understudied Alex Goodrich, who briefly played a horse in that, stole the show. So I had to learn that. And then Will Klinger played Abraham Lincoln, which is why I think I might have gotten that job. You guys might remember they used to do like unified general auditions where like all of the North suburban theaters would get together and hold generals together. I think I only made it to like two of those. And I really think that the casting director was just flipping through headshots looking at heights. And I, at that point, listed myself as 6'4", which is really like 6'3", and just like found me and was like, oh yeah, this guy, he could do it. And hired me to understudy.
Wow. Did you have to go on for either actor ever?
No. No. I felt pretty good. I felt like I prepared. It was my first time ever doing that. I had no idea what I was doing, but I think what I did worked. I think I was ready to go on, but nope. Never got to go on.
I mean, you can absolutely choose to believe you were 100% ready to go on.
Yes.
No one
I can
will
feel
ever
that
know.
fantasy.
So Patrick, tell us, I mean, that's a pretty intense first time doing the difficult job of understudying your two actors with each of them multiple roles. What was the process like, and how did the stage manager help, and what were your rehearsals, and like anything about that you remember?
I mean, I was fresh out of college, and this was like kind of a big major equity theater in my mind. Still in my mind, I think Northlight is kind of the big one. So I was definitely felt like I was a little in over my head. There are no understudies in the college program I went to, which is Scott went to ISU as well. There's no understudies, so they never taught us how to do it.
Yeah.
And I never did it in high school, so I just kind of had to like make it up as I went along. But that being said, what I did during that process is mostly what I still do. Two different colored highlighters, little line at the end of the page with one track on the left side, the other track on the right side with blocking notes. Memorize each one like it's its own thing, and just like you're doing two jobs at once. It was a funny play, but like I loved the cast. The cast was star packed too. Felicia P. Fields was in it. She played Mrs. Keckling, who's historically like one of Mary Todd Lincoln's best friends and confidants. Mary Todd Lincoln was played by Paula Scrofano. I understudied Will Klinger. Alex Goodrich was in that. David Girolamo was in it as, I forget which general, but it was a who's who of Chicago equity theater, which made it all the more super intimidating. But everybody was so kind and supportive and warm. I remember this is going on like 12 years ago now, maybe 11 years ago. So I only remember, little bits and pieces, but.
Did you have any rehearsals?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did those go?
It was a good old equity situation where like, you're ready by tech, which is so scary, without rehearsal. And then once the show opens, there is rehearsal once or twice a week. Mm-hmm. And then I think every theater has a different policy, and I know equity has to do with how the policy plays out, but I think I had to be there for 2 shows a week. Like I had to show up and watch in the back of the theater. So I think we had understudy rehearsal once or twice a week. Mm-hmm. So So we were rehearsed. Mm-hmm. I guess I started out pretty spoiled because then I did a lot of understudy gigs where I was not rehearsed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you've done a lot of understudying over the years.
I counted them before this podcast, and I think I'm up to like 11 or 12 now.
That's great. And that's just the number of shows, right? That you're not counting double, like 2 characters or 2
Yeah, that's just number of shows. There's a few in there where I covered 2, which like I think I know like a guy who's done it like 70 times. So wow. I heard of that guy like earlier in my career, so I never thought anything of it. And then I'm constantly coming across people who are like in their late 30s being like, oh yeah, I've never understudied before. And I'm like, what?
It's a great experience for, just getting your feet wet with professional theater and, getting to know people and definitely earning your stripes.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
I look at it as like being a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
And like, I've been the fly on the wall of some really, really cool rooms that I otherwise would not have dreamed I would have been invited into. So yeah, there's some cool stuff. I think I used to look at it as like the level of like interning for a theater.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I feel that way anymore. I think there's more value to understudying than, well, maybe there should be more value to interning and the free labor that you get from interns. So I don't want to, defame any internship things, but it's kind of that kind of vibe.
There's definitely a similarity and a pecking order.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
What's an understudy gig that stands out where you did not feel prepared?
Oh, geez. I know exactly what it is. I'm not going to name it because I don't want to incriminate myself. It was actually fairly recent. Uh-huh. And I think this is kind of important to talk about. I'm sure I'm going to drop enough hints that people who are listening to this are going to be able to figure out what it was. But sure. I've been listening to your podcast. I know a lot of people have been under the experience of like, you learn young, like you're in high school or you're in college or really young and you get caught with your pants down and you're not prepared and you have to like really quickly rally because you've just been called to go on in 5 and you learn like, I will never be unprepared again. And for me, I had the opposite experience of I had done it so many times and I've never gone on and got to the point where like, I hate to say it, but like I was paid so little money and doing so much work and got to this point where I was in a particularly very, very difficult musical where I had to learn the music pretty much by myself. There was like it was a theater where like, understudying was just kind of an afterthought. There were no understudies until suddenly like all of the shows started filming here and non-equity theaters had to have understudies.
Right.
So it was kind of an afterthought. I didn't think I would ever go on and got to the point with the work and being kind of left out adrift with the work. And I kind of had a falter in my integrity and I felt kind of burnt out. And I had like a stop work kind of breakdown in my mind. I just kind of had a little bit of a snap of like, why am I doing all of this work for no payoff? I'm never going to go on. This is so much work to be done by myself. I'm also an actor who sings. I'm not like a classically trained musician. So I kind of like, I learned how to sing and read music by just being an actor thrown into musicals. So I learn a little more slowly than my colleagues in musical theater. So I was just kind of, I got to a frustration breaking point and I stopped working. I stopped working on the work. And I basically kind of sailed through the second half of the run hoping that I would never go on. That being said, I did do enough work that I think if you called me 8 hours before curtain and said like, hey, he's feeling sick, you ready? I would have said, yes, I am ready. And I would have figured it out. And I would have trialed by fire, did it. I don't think I would ever do that again. I think I have, different views of understudying. I was kind of in a dark place, in a defeated place where I had done it so many times with no payoff, whatever that payoff is. Yeah. But I feel differently now.
Well, it's nice that you feel differently now. But Patrick, why do you continue to understudy?
I think it was funny because that one was like I just shouldn't do this anymore. If it doesn't bring me joy, if it makes me feel frustrated, I need to stop saying yes to this. And it does bring me joy. Very shortly after that, I got one of the best jobs of my life understudying at Steppenwolf, where I got to be probably a fly on what has been like my favorite wall up until now. I understudied at Steppenwolf. I did I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter, which is what I was doing when the pandemic happened. And it was like right after I had a breakdown of like, I have done this for 10, 11 years. I've done it 10, 11 times, and I haven't had the payoff of being able to go on and show people what my work is. It happened, and it happened in the best of ways at the theater that I've been working so hard to work at. I got 5 scheduled performances, like in the middle of understudy rehearsal. Like the stage manager like called me up and was like, hey, so just a heads up, he's going to be out for the final 5 performances of the extension. You're going to go on. And I just like kept my cool in my moment of like, this is what you've been waiting for all these years, and all of those downfalls and pitfalls have led to this moment. Of like, and in the best way, right? Like the best way to go on as an understudy is to go on at the end of the run when you feel the most prepared, the most confident, and for a multiple number of performances. And then the pandemic happened and it got canceled. And I remember like I was in understudy rehearsal on March 12th when that happened. And I just like, there was a weird heaviness to the air because March 12th, I think that's the day that like every theater closed. And I just remember I took a selfie on the stage because I had a feeling. I had a feeling that was going to be the last day I was there. And it was. We did understudy rehearsal. We all knocked our tracks out of the park. We all did a great job. And then 5 p.m. later that day after rehearsal, got the email like, ladies and gentlemen, this is the sad email we had to send. We will not be coming back to the theater until further notice. I'm still growing. I'm still processing. I'm still figuring out my life now. And I just know that the happiest time in my life and the time that I feel most at peace and centered with myself is in a space, a rehearsal space, a theater space. That moment of just preparing before a show, during a show, I feel the happiest. And understudying is part of that, is part of being in that room. It's a really important part of being in that room. And I also think I keep doing it because it is so necessary for actors to live a human life. You know, like, you gotta have a life outside of theater. You need to be able to have life outside of theater. You need to be able to call in sick when you're sick. And I really hope the pandemic teaches us that. Mm-hmm. And the way that our job continues as actors when we are sick or when we have a life event that has to take us away from work is understudying. And I think there's some cool things going on, particularly in Chicago, where I think for a long time, it was almost kind of like understudying was such an afterthought. And then there was such a built up pride of never needing to call out. And there was like, it was almost like a measure of stamina, you know, of like, I'm sick, but I'm just going to pull through it. I never call out. I have the endurance of whatever, and I will never call out. And I feel like that's changing. I know it's changing because, you know, luckily we're in a little bit of a golden age of television being filmed here, and people got to take those opportunities. Mm-hmm. But also, you know, live your life. If you've got a wedding to go to, if you have a wedding yourself, you are getting married, maybe don't worry so much about planning that around theater. And instead, theater can plan around that. You know, right. It's a profession just like anything else, and you can still live your life.
Yeah. There's so many roles that like I've not auditioned for because like I know, oh, well, my cousin's getting married, you know, the last weekend.
Yeah.
So they're not going to cast me.
Yeah. That's what happened with our show, with Casa Valentina. I auditioned with a wedding conflict, and I think that's why you got hired, is because they were like, great, we'll hire Patrick, but we need an understudy. And they found you. Like, and it was no problem. No problem. They were just like, great, you need this day? Sounds good. Like, they even asked me in the audition, and, you know, like, you break out in sweats a little bit because you're like, uh-huh. Because when you're filling out the contact form with your conflict, it's like, yes, I absolutely have a wedding, and I for sure will be there. And then when they ask you in the rehearsal room, like, so you got a conflict on this day? You're like, mm-hmm. Yes, is that okay?
Right.
And it was absolutely no problem.
Yeah. I imagine I got offered the understudy fairly shortly after that. And I had not auditioned for that play.
Yeah.
And even though, despite it was Michael Graham, who's a person that I collaborate with often,
the lovely
and
Michael Graham.
I mean the whole cast ended up being people that I knew. I can't remember why I didn't. I didn't audition for it because I had Cabaret coming up.
Yes,
and the
Cliff.
dates. Yeah, playing Cliff, Dream Role.
Yeah, Dream Role.
And the dates were so close. Like Cabaret opened the Friday after Casa closed.
Yes.
And I was just like, there's no way that this is going to work.
Yeah.
It's out, you know? And Michael, the director, came and offered it to me after it was a performance of Poseidon, actually, that he and some of the cast members were at. He was like, hey, so do you want to understudy Casa Valentina? I was like, you're asking me this right now in front of everybody? and it was totally fine. And I was like, I'll think about it.
Gotta love those lobby offers.
Yeah, I'll take it. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really had to look at the schedule and like be forthcoming about what I had going on and talk to the people with Cabaret and just be like, hey, is this a thing I can do?
Yeah.
And everybody was just like, yeah, go for it. I it's going to be hard, but
yeah,
if you think you can, go for it.
That's good work. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot of work to put up a show. And I think so often, like, figuring out actors' schedules is viewed as, I guess, something that is unnecessary, and you should just be completely available and open and ready to drop everything to work on this particular project. And it's just not true. Part of the work of putting up a show is figuring out everybody's schedule. Mm-hmm. We're freelance artists. We're freelance workers. You got to make a schedule that works for everybody. And that's also a great example of, I think so many people think that, like, everybody auditions for a show and the best actor for the part gets the role. And then the second best actor for the part gets the understudy. And it's just, I almost want to say, like, rarely works out that way. Like, there was a need. I had a conflict where I could not do the show, and they found somebody equally, if not more, qualified to do the role, and they found you. And I'm so glad, because we've been pals for a long time, and I heard it was going to be you. I was like, Scott Sava.
Oh man, when I like saw that cast, and it was like Micah and Michael and just all these people,
Danny
Robert
Taylor,
Kuhn and
Robert
Danny
Kuhn.
Taylor, like
Nicole, everybody.
Just an awesome cast. I enjoyed being in that room so much. I would say that Casa is probably the understudy gig that I've been most prepared for, and most invested in.
Good.
And it made it. I mean, just all around, it was a wonderful experience. And I wouldn't think that I would have been so fulfilled on an understudy gig, but like, so much had to do with I actually got a performance.
Yeah.
And I knew that from the very beginning.
And that's a huge motivating factor in getting somebody to take an understudy gig is you have a guaranteed performance.
Exactly. I know people are going to see this. I know, I can invite my agents. I can invite my family.
Oh, good. I'm glad some pros got to see you do it. I'm glad.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I was able to invite them. I'm not sure if they showed up.
Yeah.
But actually, I think one of them showed up, so it's fine.
Good. Good.
And before we get too far away, because the particular perspective that Patrick put forth, I don't think is ever really considered in terms of, we have a life, live your life, right? Like, we're always like, we cast understudies in case of emergency, or if we know ahead of time, like as was your experience for the role you all were talking about, and they were fine with that, and they got somebody who could do it. But like, we're never like, just as a matter of like calling in, I need a break, or something happened, like for me, the actor. And to have the comfort of knowing that there's somebody who can take it, like that entire perspective is like literally you saying it this way today is the first time I've heard it put that way. And I've been in the game since I was 7, and it's a lot of years, a whole lot of years, and I only wanted to just like emphasize and lift that up. Since part of what we're doing here is trying to get people to pay attention to the value and how they should be treated and how we should be paid when we're doing that work and why it's important, which is not just in case of emergencies. Like, it's that we have weddings. Like a wedding was the first reason that I arranged an understudy in my life. I'm one of those people who never incidentally missed a performance ever. Mm-hmm. And a wedding that I refused to miss during a show that I refused to not do. So, like that, there was a little bit of tension, and I was even asked how important the wedding was, and I'm like, but I would never have brought it forth if it wasn't important. Right. I'm like, it's important enough for me to say lesser. And I do have an understudy. It's not like we'll have to get one. I already have one. She's already hired. Like, there's no reason for me to be unable to go to this wedding. But that's the first time I had ever done that. I just wanted to just like
absolutely
stay in that message a little longer for anybody listening to remember that, and as we go through this time of like, wages and hours and like how artists work and how we make a living and how terrible that whole system is, I think this is one of the things that should latch on to those developments and progress in that regard.
Yeah.
Like, we're people out here with lives. Yeah. and so there.
And I think you're trained, right? At the beginning, you need to drop everything and suffer for your art. Your personal life, your health will come at the cost of your art. And you're a better actor with a life well lived, I think.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And the thing that got you bummed out, that made you, hesitate on your preparation is something that we talked about with M-Joy, right? Those little tiny traumas, right? That we don't acknowledge, we don't know that they are, but like they were those every time you did all that work and you didn't get to go on, what the perceived reward didn't come your way, that was a little knockdown on your spirit. you know, until it built up into the dark space you were in that moment. And that's what it is. And we don't have any idea that that's what it is, because we're taught like, this is what you do, you know, and hopefully more and more will start to guarantee performances. But even without that, even if that's not the case, right? Like just make sure that we have agency in how we engage in the work in whichever way we choose to engage, that we recognize that we have choices, you know, and our reputations aren't necessarily going to go in the trash, you know, if we're decent people otherwise, and we just got some life shit, you know, like taking ownership of that, and, you know, respecting self while respecting the craft and respecting the business, right? Like there are all these levels of this stuff. That's why, you know, people think it's cute to reference a starving artist. No, it's not cute. Nobody wants to be Nobody wants to be hungry, and we shouldn't have to do that. And we shouldn't have to put up with being mistreated, like all of these things.
And that's a great way that you put it too, of like agency and ownership. Like, I think you just got to know that you have more agency and ownership over your career than you think you do. And anytime you take a role, anytime you're offered an understudy position, a principal position, overstudy position, it's two business professionals coming together to make a contract that works mutually for both of them. And I think so often we're put in the position of, I have the power, I have an opportunity to give to you, so you must bend to my every will. And I don't even think most producers feel that way. I think there are some that don't, but I think there are a lot of producers who are ready to come to the table and meet you where you're at, you know? And especially now, like I think we're learning and we're growing. Social media has given voice to the lives and experiences of a lot of artists in this city. And I think people are taking stock. I'd like to think things are getting better. Not that they were so bad, but, well, no, they were pretty bad.
They were pretty bad.
They were pretty bad.
And we still have people who are even in today, like discussing costs and revenue and payment, still kind of holding on to the love of it, like trying to encourage people to keep at it for the love of it, or take like what's supposedly a salaried position for, you know, not a livable wage. For the love of it. And when you start something for the love of it, that's your choice. Do it. When you start to expand that thing, you gotta know that people didn't start it with that love that you started it with, right? So you don't expand based on love. Like if I just want to do my art for the love of it, I'll just make videos where I'm playing characters and I can just put it out there at my leisure, you know, and like, because I love to act, look at me. But if I'm trying to pursue a career that people actually get elevated degrees for, who can stand beside me who doesn't have a degree and make the same amount of money. There's no other industry that's true, you know? So like, I forgot my point because I just started thinking about everything at once, you guys. Anyway.
I think, you know, we want to work with reasonable people. And I think we're getting to a point, and maybe this is just because we've been in Chicago for so long, the three of us, that we've, you know, have a certain cachet or something. But there's no reason to work with somebody that you're scared of. There's no reason to work with somebody that is denying you water or, you know, like a clean bathroom, you know, like if that's not acceptable to you, then you don't have to work with that company or that person. And because of the internet and because we're so connected now, you know, news travels fast when you know, somebody's not treating people right in our community.
Yeah.
That's true. And you don't have to play your own light. Just drop that in there. Because that's hard. That's hard. And early in my time here, there was, you know, I luckily got the script and I read it. And I was like, they had already scheduled my audition, you know, because you do that. And I canceled it. I don't want to do that play. And I didn't hear from that theater again for a long time, for like 8 years. And I don't know if it's because I canceled my audition. And the show, you know, got rave reviews and that stuff. But like, No, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to tell that story.
Yeah.
And I didn't even talk to anybody about it or anything. I read that script and was like, you know, and I think that, again, in terms of agency and ownership, I think that people, if they do realize that that's a thing they can do, they still think it might be damaging, right? Like it's damaging to to cancel an appointment, an audition. And it may not be, you know, like it may, and I don't even know if that's why they never called again or what. Like I have no idea, and I didn't even care, you know, because like I could still do work, you know, but like I have done shows I didn't like, and what that feels like is not a feeling I want to have for, you know, 4 months, 5 months of my life. Just, you know,
the power of no is it's a really powerful thing to have, especially as a performer, as an artist, to be like, oh, I can say no to this. And it is a positive thing. I think what you're talking about, like, yeah, there's producers out there, there's companies that are going to be petty and they're going to be angry that you didn't want to do what they are so passionate about. How could you not share my passion? How could you not take this opportunity? But, you know, like, I'd like to think at least moving forward, there are more people that can empathize with, you know, I'm so passionate about this project. Hopefully other people are. Maybe they won't be. Like, the power of no is definitely one of the most useful tools I've picked up throughout my career.
And I'll say, and then we kind of touched on this with MJoy's episode as well, but like, you got to love the show that you're understudying. Like, it's kind of not even enough to like the script. Like, you gotta love it. Like, I did one play, which will remain nameless. There was no understudy inclusion in the rehearsal process. I mean, we were there, you know, once a week or whatever. And then the show opened and I'm not even sure it got good reviews. And then they started having, I think we had like one understudy rehearsal over the 6 weeks that it ran, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. And
familiar with that beast.
Yeah. And our assistant director, like, when we had the understudy rehearsal at his apartment around the table, so we weren't even like acting it out. And it was just kind of like, he literally said something like, all right, let's get through this, you know? And it's just like, oh, this play is kind of shitty, isn't it? Oh, okay, cool. And then from there on, like, I could not focus on memorizing because I was just so fucking over it already.
I mean, that's kind of like what I was talking about before, right? Of like, if you're not placing value on what we're doing, then it's hard for me to put value into what I'm doing.
Right.
You know? And especially when you're an understudy and you're in case of emergency use only, which I've actually never heard that put that way before. In case of emergency use only and a bit of an afterthought, it's like, well, that integrity is infectious. And I could do a better job with all hands on deck in terms of, you know, gassing the project up. But
you got to feel like a part of it.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears real fast. So one of our goals with this show is to kind of demystify the financial lives of actors and artists in the city. So we want to know, what is your hustle? Tell us, Patrick, what is your hustle?
My hustle is very, very not much right now with the pandemic. There's a whole lot of nothing going on in my life. I'm watching the AFI Top 100 Movies list, kind of stuff like that, doing odd jobs here and there. Pre-pandemic, though, I stayed pretty busy. I started off food service. I was a manager at Potbelly Sandwich Works. That turned out to be pretty inflexible. They were not super happy with my acting career. So I waited tables for about 5 or 6 years on Michigan Avenue, and I loved it. I loved waiting tables. I loved it was super flexible. There's some things I miss about it, some things I don't miss about it. I did all right. I was stable. I remember like working at a restaurant and doing a non-equity show for like a couple $100s in my mid-20s, just being like, this is the happiest time of my life and I can do this forever. I, felt pretty balanced. After that, I got into the temping kind of routine, tried my bout at, administrative work. And then I got a big, fat, salaried, wonderful position at the American College of Surgeons, which is a huge membership organization, sort of like Actors Equity for surgeons. I think because neither of them technically, Equity calls themselves a union, but their official title is a membership organization. Same with this place. And I ran stuff. I ran like a huge program where like 1,500 surgeons submitted research that then I had to put forth toward a committee, and I was the administrator toward that committee. Like, I had like a big girl job for a while there. Toward the end of it, I, felt like I was on a path to like acting is now a hobby. And this is my path now. I'm going to do this for 50 or 60 years. I'm going to retire. I'm going to have a nice retirement and everything's going to be fine. And that made me really unhappy. So I kind of started putting my ears outward, and then I got hired at Steppenwolf. And that was when I was like, all right, this is the sign, because I couldn't do the Steppenwolf thing and my job at the same time. And I was like, this is the thing. This is the thing you've been like looking for, working toward. This is where you get off of your wrong path. And that was no ill will toward the people at that job or toward the job itself. I actually loved the people I worked with at that job and part of the work too. And then I just decided to dive back into acting full time, making up the times in the middle with odd jobs like waiting tables, or I wanted to give standardized patient work a try.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened and all of my avenues ended.
Yeah.
Paused. They paused. But I will say, I am glad that you guys do this segment, because so often I hate the media will run these stories that are like the top 5 most useless degrees in the country, and theater is always like number 2 or number 3. And it's like, I don't think people realize how valuable theater and artistic skills are in the professional world.
Yeah.
I have done really well for myself in job interviews, in just like connecting to people on a human to human level is something I didn't realize is really lacking in a lot of other professional settings. And it makes you a more competitive candidate than, I hate to say it, but maybe sometimes people who went to school for that particular thing. I don't want to take jobs away from people who went to school for that particular thing. And I don't think, but I never felt like I was like lying my way through a job interview with my acting skills. I just think that like person to person and the desire to understand why humans are the way that they are makes you a really competitive candidate in any job position. So I think my theater degree has been extremely useful in my professional life, artistic and not.
That's awesome.
I also will argue, Patrick, that your personality has to do with that, with or without your degree.
Well, thank you.
Like, not to discredit your learnings, except, but like, there are plenty of duds who got theater degrees too.
For sure.
So some of that is just who you are, and how you connect with people. You didn't learn that at theater school.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You know what? I do want to ask Patrick, as a result of all of the things that you did do to make money, etc., and that you found interesting, even if they weren't related to theater, if you weren't an artist at all, what kind of work did you think you'd do?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I thought about this before. I know you were going to ask this question, and it's so tough. It's a question. It's a common question that people ask. I don't know. I think it would still be somewhat creative. This is super stereotypical, but like, I like interior decoration. I like to make my apartment look cute. I like to make other people's apartments look cute. So I think I would excel at making things look cute. And then on the opposite flip end of that, I think about like why I became an actor in the first place as a little kid. And it was to be a Power Ranger. And then as I became a young adult, to be like the female protagonist in a science fiction situation. So like, I think about like Jodie Foster in Contact, like in that like big satellite maze in the desert, like listening for sounds of alien worlds. I love science. I'm actually one of those weird theater people that loved math. I was really good at math in college, and then they were like, "Oh, you're a theater major? Here, take this class about pie graphs, and then never do math ever again." I was good at math. I was good at math and good at science, so I'd love to do something in that arena. As much as the Jodie Foster thing was kind of silly, I would love to do something that, involved looking outwardly or looking inwardly at our universe. Maybe something in like marine biology or astrology or something like that. So I guess a lot of things.
Yeah,
I didn't think I had an answer, but I guess I do.
You're like, this is tough, but here's all the
here's
stuff.
50 things that I've actually thought about specifically doing.
But that's the great thing about acting. You can do all of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, why don't we take a break, and we'll be back with more with Patrick Byrnes. Our guest today, Patrick Byrnes, is in a production of Ragtime that is streaming online right now. Performances are Thursday, April 22nd at 6:30, Saturday, April 24th at 6:30, Friday, April 30th at 6:30, and Sunday, May 2nd at 2 p.m. All the times listed are Central Standard Time. You can buy tickets and find more info at art4sb.org/ragtime. Once again, that's art4sb.org/ragtime. Tickets start at $25. Enjoy!
Hey, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. Patrick, we are going to do a segment that we like to call The Breakdown.
I need these sound cues for my life.
I know, right? Laura Mackenzie is the queen.
I love it.
She's the greatest. So with this episode's breakdown, we are going to discuss this is an article that I saw yesterday. Actually, it was a, what do you call where people sign things and... Oh,
petition?
Okay, so I saw this petition yesterday that was advocating for no 10 out of 12s, like ending the practice of 10 out of 12s. So our question for this episode is, do we like that? Do we not like it? 10 out of 12s.
Ooh, that's a curveball.
Right?
I found some great trial by fire camaraderie in spending 12 hours in a dark theater with a specific group of people. Yeah. But also, on the other side of me, it's sort of like kind of a labor exploitation that could be scheduled in a more efficient way. So that's a good question. I did not see that article.
Right. It's interesting because it's one of those things that, while we're breaking down, the patriarchy and all this other stuff, I'm down for looking at it. I think my initial response to it was, oh, no, we don't have to do that. Because, as you just said, I kind of think of it as an endurance challenge, especially going into a run where you might be doing a show, 6 to 8 times a week. You really got to kind of take that. It helps me to go from rehearsal to a run, that hyper focus. But also, here's the other thing is so many shows that I've done in the last few years have had a paper tech before the 10 out of 12, which means we probably get out of rehearsal by 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, having done 2 runs. So at this point, I don't know. I don't know if 10 out of 12s are even relevant.
I feel like this question needs to default to designers, yes, I definitely think it's for sure worth taking a look at. I think so often theater thinks that labor has advanced to or not advanced to where it is because of hundreds of years of disputes and laws, and theater is separate from that. We're special. We get our own special rules, and it's nope, you gotta follow the rules like everyone else. But at the same time, I know that a designer's schedule and the way that they amass projects is different than that of an actor or a director or a stage manager. So I would kind of yield to like what they need.
You know, I wouldn't, only because they've also been there for Tech Week, which is either up to 10 of 12s or following 10 of 12s, right? So, you know, usually it's up to, like, you've been at Tech Week, then you have 10 of 12. Like, what? I just was doing this every day. You know what I mean? Like, every day for 5 days in a row. And I got, 2 days of 10 of 12, and I got tech. And then often, unless Elana's in the room making a fuss, you don't get a break before opening.
Yeah.
Right? And I will fuss and scream and kick and do everything I can for whatever size my cast is that I'm in, like whatever, why we literally went 7 days straight with Tech and 10 of 12s.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally. And now we're going to do like another Tech run, a dress rehearsal before. Oh, somewhere in there we need a break. We need to reset. We need this shit to just settle in.
Yeah.
With some sleep or a book or TV, like whatever
Get groceries,
it is we are.
run errands, yeah.
Right. Like,
absolutely.
We're going to be fine.
You're right.
You know, like we're going to be fine. So I don't know what I have never had a conversation with designers about 10 of 12s, but I do know that by the time those are happening, they still have, they've been doing the work that, normally for me, that we're trying to get to we do the dry tech or Q to Q, etc. And then, we're doing all these runs and it's just, they're not huge strides made, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, depending on the length of the show. And like, gosh, so say my show is an hour. That doesn't mean I want to do it 3 fucking times today,
Yeah.
And if it's 2 hours or if whatever the length, if there is a particular emotional drain, like the range of that usage of ourselves is different depending on the show, the character, etc. But like, I don't got it in me.
Yeah, maybe like so many opening nights we're just all running on fumes.
Yes.
And I think we think that like that's a good thing.
How it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's always been done. But like, you're right. It's in a sense of like, wait a minute, if anything this year has taught us, it's that rest makes things better sometimes. Like our lives are made better sometimes by stepping away from our work. And when you work out a muscle in the gym, it doesn't rebuild itself until you're sleeping,
Exactly.
So like maybe we need this stuff to sit and congeal instead of just go opening.
Yeah, I think it's absurd.
So you're right. I hear you.
Most of the time I could push hard enough because I make sense. You know what I mean? And like I don't want us to not work hard.
Right.
I don't want us to put up a shit show. But my argument is that if we don't beat ourselves to a pulp of slime on the floor before opening, we'll have a great show. So yeah. I just thinking about it, like I'm like, hey, I win that fight a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking about, because like the theater companies that I've been working with, that I like working with, and I've worked with multiple times, I can't think of the last time I had a true 10 out of 12 where my time was taken up like that. And granted, a lot of the shows that we do are, going to be 90 minutes maybe. I've done a lot of children's theater. I've done a lot of, shorter shows that kind of, there's less work that has to be done technically.
I feel like, Scott, was 2 10 out of 12s a thing at ISU?
I think so.
Is that a thing that happened? I think so. I think they took a Saturday and a Sunday of our lives for a show that ran for a week and a half.
Right. That's bananas. But they were teaching you how the real world works.
Yes, it's just go.
Yeah. It has. And I'm all for where are we? In our there are factors that can contribute. But like if we've been, if we're in a good place, because some of the habits are literally that right? So some places would have a 10 of 12 because that's what you do. And it doesn't, like, the need in terms of what the quality, where the production is at that moment isn't always assessed. It's like, we have a 10 to 12, this is how we're going to spend this time. And this is how we're going to spend this time on the second day. And so in the times where it hasn't necessarily been like, I didn't completely win, it is at least like urging, like, let's examine where we are. Because maybe our dinner break is longer. You know, maybe we're here in the morning and then we're gone for 4 hours and then we come back, you know, which gives the designers time to, like, if they have to do more stuff, or they can also take the break, you know, like, so it's negotiable depending on the state of the show and etc. You know, at that moment.
Yeah,
absolutely. You're right.
I would be terrified if I got to the weekend before opening and we were only scheduled for, like, I don't know, 6 hours each day. But you know, you get to Friday and you're like, actually we need a 10 out of 12. Like, we need that time. Well, back in the day when, you know, we were, like, I don't know, like high school, sometimes you just rehearse the show until it's over, you know? And like, I've never had the experience where I've had to stay, like, until, like, 1 a.m. to, you know, finish teching a show. But I guess I wouldn't want to get into a position as a producer where you don't have enough time, you know?
Yeah.
And I think 10 out of 12 kind of force you to have that time.
Yeah.
I think there's better ways to do it, though, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, what the hell you been doing all this rehearsal weeks? Is then what I would say.
Yeah.
You know?
I've been there too, Elana, where I'm like, how did you not think of this? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and tech is usually at least a week long. You know, very rarely is it just a couple days of tech. You know, like you usually have like 5 days of tech on either side of that 10 of 12. So it's like,
yeah,
we may have some some specific things we need to address if we're in shit shape at that point. You know, like what's really going on? Let's do a different show. Let's improvise this show because we suck. Yeah. You know, like I don't know. I mean, it just I'd like to believe it should just never get that bad.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, what's given me like some of the most comfort during pandemic is that it's like, we don't even have to burn it all down. It's been burnt down by the pandemic. And so let's build it back stronger.
Right.
And if 10 out of 12s don't survive that building back stronger, I think that's okay. I don't like to approach anything I do in life with, well, this is the way we've always been doing it. So why not just keep doing it that way? Like, let's continue to examine what can be the best for our time and our art.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to vary company to company. It's going to vary show to show.
Yeah.
You know, if we really get in the habit of treating people well and paying them, then, you know, a lot of that other stuff will work itself out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. I kind of want to talk to you, Patrick, about the Sondheim shows that you've done.
Yeah.
You've understudied 2? Is that right?
I've understudied. My first job out of the city was being in Sunday in the Park with George at Village Players in Oak Park. Rest in peace.
It was good. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Cool.
I did, yeah.
Then I did. I understudied it at Chicago Shakespeare with Jason Daniele and Carmen Cusack. They're like famous Broadway musical theater folk, and they were the nicest people ever. So yeah, I did that. I did Assassins.
Okay.
I did a super illegal all-male production of Company. Danny Bernardo is a dear friend, and he was leaving Chicago to go pursue his life in Los Angeles. And he had been he became a bit of a producer before he left. Not a bit of a producer, a producer. He produced concerts and stuff. And he got in the habit of producing a birthday concert every year for his birthday. And he decided that since he was leaving for LA like a week after his birthday, that he would realize his dream of putting on an all-male production of Company. And I played Paul in that one night only event.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool.
It was great. It was fun. I did Passion which you've done.
I've done Passion, yeah.
No, you know what? I did not do Passion. I got cast in Passion at a company that opened in the old music theater company space in Highland Park.
Mm-hmm.
And we all had to quit that show. We all walked away from that show.
Oh, wow.
We found out some stuff. Our equity actor was not getting paid, and all the non-equity actors weren't going to get paid till the last day. So we were like, well, if this guy's not getting paid, we're not getting paid. The script was all written on like Microsoft Word and stuff. I don't think, basically, the show never happened. And then Writers Theater, because the artistic director was an artistic associate on this new theater company, felt bad about the whole situation, put on a one-night concert of Passion at Writers Theater in their main stage space.
Oh, cool.
But I think the only Sondheim that I've understudied is Sunday in the Park with George. And I covered The Boatman and Franz.
I'm also... Marry Me a Little is a review, right?
Oh my God!
Yeah, what about Marry Me a Little?
I did do Marry Me a Little. Oh my God! Yes, we have to talk about Marry Me a Little.
Yeah, I want to hear about that one.
I have to talk about that one because that
real quick, the role is it's just a review.
Yes.
And two actors, right? One male, one female.
Yeah. Yes, and the characters are man and woman.
Yeah,
that's it. They live in adjoining apartment units, one on top, one on bottom.
Okay.
And it's basically all of Sondheim's songs that never made it into shows.
Yeah.
So his trunk of old songs up until like 1981 or so, strewn together to tell this 90-minute love story of these two people who live in adjacent apartments and they fall in love. And it kind of like fast forwards in like an abstract, not real time through like their marriage and their relationship falling apart.
It kind of sounds like a Last 5 Years-ish.
For sure.
Style.
Yeah, very much in the vein of Last 5 Years.
Yeah. So I imagine you had a lot of solos.
Yeah. All solo. Well, solos and duets.
Yeah. How did you prepare for that one?
Oh boy. So what I gotta point out about this particularly crazy understudy experience that was wonderful, but was crazy, is that I was understudying Austin Cook. Austin Cook is like a musical prodigy genius person who is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. He is a composer, pianist, all around musical everything kind of guy. And he played the man. And he plays piano like nobody I have ever seen before in my life. Like he really like does stuff and you like sit back in your chair and you can't believe you just saw what you just saw. So then they call me, they invite me into audition to be his understudy, and I don't play the piano. I don't play the piano at all. And this whole show has been worked around him playing piano. So I'm like, this must be a mistake, and they said, nah, listen, we know we're not going to find somebody with this particular skill set, and with the way that Jess McLeod directed it, with the way that we are putting this show together, we think the acting is paramount. Even though there are no lines in this show, the acting through musical performance, which is, Sondheim, is paramount. So we are willing to sacrifice piano skills for acting. And that was great because I don't have any piano skills. Yeah. And then they were like, if you could pick up like a few things here and there, that would be great. But I think there was kind of an understanding of like, we're only going to give you this amount of money. So we don't expect you to become a piano playing prodigy in this amount of time, but like whatever you could do, we would really appreciate it. So I, tried to pick up a little skills. I took like 4 lessons of piano when I was 10 years old and tried to like revive that stuff. But they basically reframed the show around my understudy track that instead of a composer, so the guy, Austin Cook, played a composer who tinkered away on his piano writing music, and then Bethany Thomas, who played the woman, came in and was like, hey, could you shut up? And then they like have a meet cute and they fall in love and get married. With me, we kind of developed this idea that he's a lyricist instead. Like he writes poetry and lyrics and isn't much of a piano player, but he's a lyricist. So it made sense for me to be around the piano, but it was okay that I didn't play the piano like Austin Cook. So Austin Cook is like Mozarting and going nuts and really, really, really selling those tickets. And then like I do it and I'm like deep, 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 deep with my pointer finger on the piano and kind of had to just like trial by fire. I had to disassemble and reassemble a piano on stage because they like wrote that bit into the show where like something went, like it was a bit that they built that something went wrong with the piano. So Austin Cook had to like get a screwdriver out and take apart the piano, fix the issue, and then put the piano back together again. I had to learn how to do that.
Wow.
I don't think I got as far as I wanted to get with the learning piano, and I definitely think I don't got as far as they hoped I would get with learning piano. But we did it. We had weekly understudy rehearsals, and it all resulted in an understudy run where it was in the round. I made a big grand gesture like you guys don't know what theater in the round is. One of the most nerve-wracking understudy runs of my life. I've got the director on one side. I've got Bethany Thomas on the other side. I've got Austin Cook on the other side. And then behind me is the artistic director of the theater company. And they thought nothing of it. They were just like, oh, well, let's support the understudies by giving them an audience on their understudy run. But lo and behold, I'm like, oh my God, Austin Cook is about to watch me take apart a piano and put it back together. What am I doing? It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah. When you're preparing for something where like it's only music, how is that different from like a straight play for you?
It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Learning music for me is like, I'm an actor who sings. Like I went to school, same as you. I got my degree in acting. I like to sing. I have an okay voice. So like I get put in musicals. Yeah. I've learned quite a lot over the last 10 years, but I am still not somebody who could just like look at music and know what it is. I need somebody to plunk out my notes so that I can hear what it sounds like. Luckily, with that process in particular, it was such a musical collaboration and so central on the music. And Austin Cook himself had such a hand in that like they created like click tracks on a Google Drive. They created like a ton of resources for all of us to succeed, you know? Nice. Whereas, you know, with acting, it's lines and blocking and, you know, story and arc and choices and all of that stuff goes into musical theater, but then you also got to learn the music. So I think with music, because it's the hardest, I will start with music and I will double down on that and get to a point where I'm comfortable with that, because I feel like with lines and blocking, that's just like, I could pick that up real quick.
Right.
I can't believe I forgot about Marry Me a Little.
Yeah.
That was a cool experience.
I wasn't going to let you forget about a Sondheim review. No.
A lot of beautiful songs in that show.
Yeah.
That are never going to be in any other show.
Right.
They're like his leftovers.
I'm jealous of you because you've done actually a lot of fucking Sondheim. Now that
I think
about
cool stuff.
You did. I saw you in Into the Woods. I saw you in Into the Woods.
You did?
Yeah.
At Mother Macaulay Liberal Arts High School? I didn't. Oh, yeah.
And then, so you've done that. You've done Sunday twice. You've done Passion.
Yeah.
You've done Marry Me a Little.
Assassins.
That's a lot. I've only done Passion and A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
I think I happen to be somebody that fits into the world of Sondheim at the moment that like Chicago went through like a Sondheim craze between like 2010 and 2015. And I gotta say, like, not a lot of people are doing too much Sondheim these days, because I think what is good is that we truly looked inward at our community and we are trying to see where the gaps are and what audiences we're not serving, and found out that we're not serving a lot of audiences by only doing Sondheim shows. And there's just like so many stories to be told about the majority of the city, you know? So I think the landscape has changed for the better away from Sondheim. I think Sondheim's always going to come back.
It's like Shakespeare. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm never going to say, like, Sondheim's not important, but, like, I think we're doing the right thing by doing shows about important topical stuff right now.
I'm sure he's getting up there. I'm sure, when he passes, it's going to be celebration all over the place.
Big funeral, funeral seasons.
Not celebration.
Yeah.
The opposite of celebration, but
a
tribute.
life celebration.
Yes, yeah. Cool. All right. We've Sondheim geeked out enough.
Cool.
Elana, do you want to introduce props?
It's time for props. Yeah. So it's time for props, and in this segment, we like to give shouts out to understudy you've seen, stage manager, assistant director who might help with such kinds of processes. And if you have a recent show or the last show you saw before quarantine, or at this point, you might have seen it streaming. We don't know. But this is the time to, like, raise up other people and shit.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
I've got a bunch.
Awesome.
Can I do a few? Is that okay?
We just gonna let you go, bro.
That's what we're here for.
Okay. I definitely got to shout out Jessica Goforth.
That was
Jessica
my number
Goforth,
one.
Yeah, she was in Casa Valentina with me and Scott. She understudied my wife in the show. She understudied Nicolia Aguirre, who is also awesome. Nicolia was feeling sick. She had to jump in. She was ready. She was prepped. She was in the moment. She was wonderful to work with, and just did an all-around great job. So I give props to her.
Yeah. And also with that one, I don't remember you and Jessica necessarily having a lot of interaction or rehearsal time at all.
No, yeah.
Before that happened. I think it was the day of. And she stepped in and she was totally prepared and totally awesome.
Prepared. Super pro. I think she had stepped in for Nicolia like once or twice during rehearsal for whatever reason.
Sure.
And just blew it out of the park. She was great. She was wonderful.
Yeah.
I got to give props, and I listened to you complain about this at another show. I got to give props to you, Scott. How could I not? Like, you understudied me in Casa Valentina.
Oh, right.
Yeah, remember that whole thing when you understudied me in Casa Valentina?
Yeah, that's right.
You let me go to my cousin's wedding. It was no problem, and I heard it was a blaze of glory and wonderful and fantastic, and that it went well. So thank you for having my back. Really, truly. Thank you so much.
I accept those props.
Yeah. I got to shout out my pal, Charisse Hamilton. Charisse Hamilton, my gosh, this is about 4 or 5 years ago now, was understudying Dolores in Sister Act at Marriott Theatre, Lincolnshire. That is, if you've ever seen Sister Act, the musical, Dolores is a huge role. It's a huge undertaking. It's also a huge showcase for any actor that plays her. Like, it's hilarious. It's wonderful. And she got told you're on in 5, like other actor was either feeling sick or stuck in traffic or something, because it's way out in the north burbs. I remember I was doing laundry when I found out that she was going to go on, and I dropped my laundry, was a bad neighbor in an apartment building, and left my laundry in the washer and dryer, and drove all the way up to Lincolnshire and saw her absolutely kill it in like a star-making turn. Like, she really, really, really knocked out of the park. She's on tour with Come From Away now in Australia, doing Australian tours of Broadway shows.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's great. She's wonderful.
That's amazing.
Stage managers, though. I'm going to give props to my most recent stage manager, Michelle Medvin. She was the stage manager for I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter at Steppenwolf. That was the show that shut down when the pandemic shut down. She was great. She was fantastic. She set a really good tone with the room. She gave us a lot of freedom, but like helped us do the show how the show is supposed to be done, had all of us. There was a lot of cubography in that show, which, if you don't know what cubography is, it's, rehearsal cubes and moving them to be different settings and stuff. She knew where every single one of those damn things were and set us up for success. She was great. I miss her. I hope we work together again.
Yay.
Yeah. Oh, wait, do I talk about shows I like too that I saw.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Right before pandemic, I saw The Leopard Play, Sad Songs for Lost Boys at Steep Theater, written by Isaac Gomez. The reason I saw it, because I think Steep's great, but the playwright Isaac Gomez wrote I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter at Steppenwolf. And then the guy who I was understudying, my overstudy, is Peter Moore, who's the artistic director of Steep Theater. And so he was like, hey guys, here's some comps. And I was like, oh, cool. And it's Isaac's show. So we went to see it, and it's was great. It was wonderful. It was like a semi-loosely autobiographical story, but like put in a bit of abstract tones of Isaac growing up as a gay Mexican boy in Texas with surrounded by machismo culture, and what that was like for him, which was just wonderful. The whole cast like really knocked it out of the park. Dance Nation at Steppenwolf was really, really cool. Another comp that fell into my lap because I was understudying at the time. It was a show about kids in dance class told by adult actors playing like 8 to 9-year-olds in dance class. And it was awesome and horrifying and wonderful. Wow. And like, also a very unique experience to sit next to my fiance, who is a dancer, who like grabbed my arm several times when like, I don't know if y'all ever watch Dance Moms, but like the world of like dance class is a unique experience of humanity. And there were a couple things that they like touched on that definitely struck a couple nerves.
Nice.
I saw a video production of a show that got shut down the week of pandemic, who didn't get to open, Schoolgirls, the African Mean Girl plays at Goodman. I thought that was so freaking cool. I thought it was such a great play. I'm a little biased because like a bunch of my friends were in it, but like it really sent me. It was really freaking cool. Showcase of some of the best Black actresses the city has to offer, which there's a lot of them in this city. It was great. It was so good.
That's
so
awesome.
Funny.
Yay! Props. Patrick, do you what do you got going on in your life right now? Like, what are you doing to keep sane and healthy and creative?
I am really, really freaking blessed right now to be working on a show. The pandemic was a whole bunch of nothing for me, and a lot of playing video games that I had not played in a long time, and watching a lot of movies and starting therapy, which is a great thing that I'm really, really happy about.
Yes.
I am doing a production of Ragtime right now, playing Tata, which is a dream role. This theater company, Art4, we will air a filmed version of it online April 16th through May 12th. Art4 in South Bend. Yeah, everything shut down during pandemic. They did a little small show in the fall this way where they basically like prepared everything on Zoom, filmed some stuff in a distanced, safe way, and then put it online. And they were like, well, instead of canceling Ragtime, do you think maybe we could just do it? And maybe we could reach out to Chicago actors who, normally couldn't come to South Bend for 3 months to do a show. We can bring them here for like a day, keep everything safe, sanitize and everything. We're going to film it. They're going to put it all together like a movie, like a staged theatrical thing.
Oh, that's neat.
Big experiment. I think it's going to be pretty cool. And it airs online April 16th through May 2nd.
That's so cool. And they got the rights and everything, and that's all.
They got the rights. Everything's legit. They've got a whole I got to turn in recordings of myself singing, and they give me feedback. They've basically virtualized the rehearsal process. I don't love it because I, obviously ideally want to be in a room with other human beings who are giving me things to work off of. And I love that feeling of ensemble. It's definitely the most isolating artistic experience of my life, but I could do worse than working on the score of Ragtime during the pandemic when nobody's working. So yeah. I'm grateful. I'm grateful, and I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah, that sounds cool. It sounds like you could have some real reach too, because people love that show. And
I've actually never seen it.
It's great. It's great. It's I think with, everything going on with the temperature of the nation, everything that happened with Black Lives Matter over the summer with George Floyd and everything, like Ragtime touches on a lot of those themes and how a lot of those wounds we think they've healed and they haven't. And it still deals with some cool, dark themes that I think will ring true now, maybe more than ever. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I only saw one production of it, and I really did not like it, and I don't know, I don't know if that's a
Sure.
Ragtime problem or if it was just the production.
Yeah,
I'm excited. Actually, I'm kind of interested to give it another chance.
yeah. Maybe all I just said was poppycock, and that it is just truly bad. But I think it's great. It's one of my favorite shows.
Well, like it's one of those things where like people who have done it love it.
Yeah.
And that's usually a good sign.
I'd be interested to see it now just because I think what made it, I don't want to say it ever got stale, but was like, oh man, look at all these problems we used to have and thank God they're better now. And I think told from a lens of like, wait a minute, we've still got lots of work to do. Might change the lens a little bit. We'll see.
I that actually rings true for me because that is very much the feeling I got when I saw that show. So that's interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned before we got on mic that you're getting married in October.
I'm getting married.
So that's
I'm getting
amazing.
married to Danny Spagnuolo. All of those are correct pronunciations.
Are they all?
Like, hold
Yeah.
on.
It's Italian last names have lots of different pronunciations.
Okay.
So if my future father-in-law is listening, I'm sorry I just pronounced it the one way, but your son pronounces it that way too sometimes. Yeah, we're getting married in October. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a wonder, and I can't wait to be his husband. Yeah. We've been engaged for what seems like 45 years. Because we got engaged like summer of 2018, 2019. And then we were like, well, we want to like get married in the fall, but not this fall because it's too close. And then the pandemic hit. And we could have done something small, but we were like, you know what? Everything's planned. Let's just like put a bookmark in it and just pick back up next year. So that's where we're kind of at right now. We're going to get married this October. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Elana, what's new with you?
I'm finally back home. Yeah. It's so great. I'm so happy to be here.
Where's home?
I'm in Chicago, but I was in Michigan for several weeks when I was supposed to be there for 1 week. And so I may have to go back, but it won't be today. So
Not on today.
So that's good. And I got an Instacart order this morning, but I forgot lemon, so that made me sad. And also, I'm excited to get back to my jigsaw puzzle. I need to finish.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully by the time people are listening to this, my puzzle is at the framer. That's going to be my goal. I'm like halfway. It's 1,000 piece.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I'm halfway.
That's going to look so cool. And it's going to feel so good to be done.
I know, right? And it's my centerpiece. It's going over my couch. It's African-esque. It's a black woman. It's a lot of color. It's a very difficult puzzle. Don't know why I did that to myself. But when it's framed, it's going to be great. It's going to go over my couch. My whole time living in this place, I haven't had any type of art above my couch. And I got that, and I'm excited.
Update as of April 18, the puzzle is now at the framers.
What's up with you, Scott?
It seems like the only thing that's up with me these days is like new TV. But because I think last time I talked about WandaVision and it's great. But I've been hanging out with my pod people, my best friend and her roommates. You know, it's been really nice to get out of the house for the first place, and then to just hang out with people. And like we do kind of a coffee shop, so you know, put on lo-fi beats and everybody just works on their computer, and you know, we can talk stuff out.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's really great. And 2 of them are actors, and then one of them just does everything. I used to get so much work done in a coffee shop, and not being able to like go somewhere and just like focus for 2 hours has been kind of rough. So I'm glad to have at least this outlet and my best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when we're done, we watch Bridgerton or now we're on Outlander, and we'll play some Ticket to Ride, which is my favorite board game.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool. Is there anything else we want to hit?
I don't think so.
I think we hit
this
everything.
Has been great and a little therapeutic.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Alana, I'm so grateful to spend time with you. I can't wait to see you IRL.
Ditto, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait until I can throw a party for everybody and we can all hang out and celebrate this podcast.
Yes. Oh, please do that.
Yeah.
Please don't forget about me.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't forget about me. I want to go to a party so bad.
Well, at the very least, I'm thinking about setting up some kind of Zoom game night or something like that.
Maybe we could play Josh Kemper's game.
Yeah.
He talked about it on the podcast. He put together basically like a demo of the game that shops around to investors. It's me and Danny and Royan Kent playing the game along with a few other people. But we were the test players, and it's really fun. It was really fun and kind of got me a couple times with the questions it asks. Anyway, that game is fun and topical.
It's kind of a fun story.
Yeah.
You can find it at it'skindoffunstory.com. Any other, we mentioned Ragtime, no other plugs or anything else that's coming up?
I recorded a little audio play musical in December called Saint Jane and the Wicked Wicks about Jane Addams and the women of Hull House. That was written by Kristen Lems, who is the descendant of people who actually rubbed elbows with Jane Addams and lived across the street. And it's basically her telling the story of her family meeting and getting involved with Jane Addams, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Saint Jane and the Wicked Wicks.
Oh, Wicked Wits?
Wicked Wicks. Wickes, I think.
Oh, okay.
The Wicked Wicks.
Mary.
It's the last name of the protagonist is Wicks.
I think it's also, Mary Wicks is the name of the one actress from Sister Act, the older one.
Yes.
And she's also in The Music Man as one of the Pickle Little ladies.
And she's in White Christmas as well, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, Sister Mary Lazarus.
Sister Mary.
One of my favorite correlations I've ever made in my life. Is that Sister Mary Lazarus?
Yes. Oh my God, Sister Mary Lazarus. Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Truly, thank you for doing this work. I think, what I talked about earlier with having a little bit of a breakdown, it's because I thought nobody cared and nobody valued me, and for you guys to be no, let's put some value behind this is really fucking cool. So thanks for doing it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah.
You've been a wonderful friend and a wonderful person to work with for many years. So I appreciate it. Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation today with Patrick Byrnes and that it gives you deeper insight into the art of understudying.
If you'd like to ask us a question or give a suggestion of somebody we should interview, you can send an email to understudypodcast@gmail.com.
Or hit us up at understudypod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
We want to thank all of our Patreon subscribers, especially Marcella Huff and Stanley Sava. They are in the front row and the balcony level of Patreon subscribership, and we are very grateful to them. I especially want to say thank you to Marcella Huff, who has been such a supportive person in my career for the time that I've known her, and just very grateful for her.
If you want to support the show, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/understudypod.
Our theme song and all other music are by Laura McKenzie.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, please hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice and tell your friends.
And if you hated it, please tell your enemies.
And their parents.
And their fucking parents.
Bye.
Bye. Cheers.